Well, how about it? Week 2, they let us back for another week. Welcome in to Stadium Pulse. I am your host, Jason Hamby. We are, as always, checking the pulse at all of our local colleges around the area, from UCF, UF, FSU, UGA, down to Miami, and the big-time college football games of the week, SEC, and further on. And we want to start right away. I want to start right away. We're not going to waste any time. I have a warning to anybody who even thinks about complaining about this week 2 slate. Yes, I understand that we have 2 top 25 matchups, and that is all. But listen, think about what we just came out of. We just came out of 8 months of the abyss, waiting around for a slate like this. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. We have so many good games this weekend that are going to fly under the radar. We'll be detailing those here in just 1 second. But, so many of these big schools schedule the cupcake. It's okay. It's okay. It's all going to be okay. But we do have 2 top 25 matchups. By the way, Texas and Michigan is that first one. Noon kick. I don't know what's going on with all these noon kicks, but we're going to deal with it. Texas is going to go up to Ann Arbor and rout the Wolverines. I'll say that right now, just to get that right out of the way. Quinn Ewers, and number 3 Texas, going to get up to Ann Arbor against a depleted, questionable, no idea who they really are Michigan team, and the former walk-on, Davis Warren. No, I'm not disqualifying him because he's a walk-on. Obviously, Stetson Bennett is the guy. Going to have to build a statue outside Sanford Stadium for him before too long. But Davis Warren, I'll believe it when I see it. And I got Texas in a big one there. So keep your eye on that one. That's a noon kick. But so many good games across the college football slate. This weekend, Arkansas at OK State, at 16 OK State. You want to watch a guy who's an under-the-radar sleeper? Taylor Green, quarterback at Arkansas. He's special. SEC fans, South Carolina at Kentucky. The battle of which coach could potentially lose their job after Napier. There's your bowl game for that. South Carolina at Kentucky, and all the Georgia fans, that's where Brock Vandegrift is now the starter. And then here's the sleeper game of the week. We got number 14, Tennessee at NC State. Now, Mr. Tennessee, Nick in the daytime, is not with us today. He will be with us every Friday for the rest of the fall. So it's a shame that he's not here to comment on this today. But number 14 at Tennessee, number 14 Tennessee at NC State. That's going to be a good one. And even if you don't care anything about those two teams, if you're an SEC fan and if you're a Florida fan and you want to know if you have any shot of beating them, you need to be tuning into this game. If you're a Georgia fan and you need to know how challenging that game is going to be come real late in the year that we have them this year, you need to be tuning in that game. Nico, their quarterback, take it for what it is in week 1, and that's what we're kind of having to do through 1 week, is decide based off of all these games for most of these teams against no-name teams, what's real and what's not. That's a very difficult thing to do. So Nico looked unbelievable week 1 against a lesser opponent, but that's why you have this week. SEC fans need to be look out for that. And the thing is that, again, as a college football fan, you've got to be cool with some of these cupcake games. Okay, Georgia plays at Tennessee, but Tennessee Tech comes to town at 2:00 tomorrow. Okay, Tennessee Tech don't know their mascot. Gonna be honest with you, don't know their mascot. But you got to be okay with these cupcake games because they're paying. Tennessee Tech is getting $500,000 to play this game, and they'll probably lose by 60 points. We know that this is what big-time teams do week 1 and week 2 every year to gear up for their conference schedules. And here in a moment, we're actually going to hear from Kirby about, he has a very interesting take on this that I want to get to. But this is what you're going to have to be okay with, and you got to judge. This is such a great opportunity for fans to also check all of their surrounding cast players on their football teams. let's hear from Kirby real quick. He was asked about some of these cupcake games that teams schedule and what it does for college football.
You as the host coach, you've been outspoken about you want to help these programs out. You want to bring them in. How do you sort of balance that? You don't want to get anybody hurt. You don't want to embarrass anybody.
Does he still want the check?
He said he absolutely did. He said, but there's no other way really for them to do it than that,
Well, that's my point. I mean, everybody can put me in a pigeonhole of, well, Kirby believes in these games, Kirby doesn't believe in these games. I believe in the sport of football. And if you told me that the sport of football is going to lose programs because they can't sustain without the financial help, then I want to support that. I also want the financial support of our fan base. And if you polled them, they'd rather play Clemson, Notre Dame, every week play somebody. And I respect that too. I enjoy that. I coached in the NFL. I've been around those kind of leagues. I mean, I'm sensitive to both of those things. I just think that if we're going to lose football at a lower level because of financial reasons, I'd rather try to sustain those programs and keep them up.
There you have it. That's Kirby Smart dropping knowledge like he always seems to do. And, like he said, does the coach still want the check? Tennessee Tech is going to get paid $500,000 to lose by 60 points tomorrow. And like you said, that's what it takes to keep these programs around. I have no idea what kind of percentage it is, but you got to believe that check that Georgia is cutting them tomorrow is going to pay for a large amount of their coaches' salaries, their facilities, et cetera, and so on. And that's what it takes. And, I think we got Nichols going to LSU. They're getting a $700,000 check tomorrow to go play that football game in Baton Rouge. And this is just what it is. Unless you want to just wipe out, 30, 40 programs, maybe even more, this is what it's going to have to be. I did want to recap Clemson real quick. 34-3 Georgia win from last Saturday. And I think everybody who watched, I've watched the game 3 times now. I had to go back and watch it multiple times. Shout out to ESPN Plus for that, watching the full game. And what stood out most, and I believe this is across the board for everybody who's watched that game and was kind of paying close attention, the biggest difference in the game was team speed. Biggest difference in the game was team speed. Georgia was a lot faster than Clemson was, and it showed on it almost every drive, especially in the second half. Now, I mean, if you want to go back to execution, the whole coach speak thing, yes, we can talk about how Cade Klubnik in his first play on offense missed a 5-yard check down to the running back that everybody in the world completes. Everybody watching the show, if you're watching the show, you would complete that football. And for whatever reason, Cade Klubnik didn't do it. It's all good. But team speed was the name of the game. You watch London Humphrey's 2 big catches, one that he took to the house. That's what it was. You have him leaving corners of Clemson in the dust, and that goes back to recruiting. And so that's why if you just want to dismiss Dabo's and all of his, lack of transfer portal, it's not even that his team is struggling because of the lack of the transfer portal. It's because of the guys that he's recruited out of high school. They've lacked team speed. They have taken guys that Georgia has not taken, that Georgia has passed up. Those are a lot of the guys that are on Clemson's roster. But Dabo said they matched up well in his post-game press conference. That is a lie. He did not believe that. If he did, then he's insane. He's probably covering it up, as coaches do. And I mean, I like Dabo. I don't have anything against him, but you cannot tell me that you thought that you matched up well against Georgia's talent and Georgia's roster ahead of that football game. Also, Beck, cerebral. He might get a complaint here and there for not throwing the ball down the field all the time. He's going to complete 80% of his passes. That's what an NFL quarterback is going to do these days. That's what they're going to do. And he takes the shots when he has them, and they're complete. He probably missed 2-3 throws, actually, in that football game that were kind of uncharacteristic, but nonetheless cerebral, and it's all mental for Carson Beck. I feel like he knows exactly where he's going to go with the football pre-snap every single time. That was out without Trevor Etienne, and we put in a freshman, Nate Frazier, and it looks like DeAndre Swift. Had over 100 total yards of offense. If you're a Georgia fan, defense looked like it was in 2022. Last year there was some frustrations. We weren't used to teams scoring on us at all, or much less scoring on the first offensive possession. That happened a lot last year. That never happened in 2022 when we had all those shutouts. This defense that I saw against Clemson, because you're going to see Clemson, they're going to score some points, and they got a good rushing attack. On the flip side, Clemson's offense, they're going to score points. on the flip side for their defense, we're going to talk about FSU later, but FSU will score negative points against Clemson. Negative points. Clemson's defense is real. They tackle unbelievably. They have ginormous dudes up front that are SEC-type football players. FSU, if they don't change things, will score negative points against Clemson. Last notes on Georgia, KJ Bolden, freshman, another freshman, played unbelievable at safety. Obviously, Malachi Starks went from safety to the star to the nickel position, and that's why he had that insane catch that looked like Oregon opener 2 years ago. Last note on Georgia, their schedule looks like it got harder, and what do I mean by that? All of their big games, all of those teams looked real. And again, that's off of week 1. How much can you really tell? But Bama looked real good. Jalen Milroe looks like he's gotten better. Ole Miss put 70 points up in their one, and I know against his lesser opponent, but they look like a team that's going to be just air-raided down the field. And Jackson Dart looks like just as much of a Heisman candidate as Carson Beck does. Texas looks real, and we're going to see this weekend. Tennessee as well. So be on the lookout for that. Georgia's schedule, let's not sleep on it. It is a lot harder than I feel like it's getting talked about. Obviously, the expectation for them is to still go undefeated. We'll see. We will see. We want to move on down south. We're going to go to Central Florida now and talk about the Knights. And what's going on down in Orlando. Obviously, a big win week 1 against New Hampshire. We talked a lot about it last week. The struggles of KJ Jefferson. Now they got Sam Houston. And today we're actually going to bring in another UCF alum, a guy that I'm really excited to talk to. He's an Orlando radio host, talks a lot of Magic, a lot of Knights on 96.9 The Game. Tyler Karen is joining us today. Tyler, how you doing today, man? Unfortunately, Tyler, couldn't quite hear you there. We're gonna come back to you real quick, so stay with us if you could. We're gonna come back to Tyler. He's got a lot of insight that I want people to hear about the Knights and how they're progressing, and if their run game is enough to overtake some of these Big 12 offenses or defenses that they're going to see in the coming weeks, because they got quite the stretch, this 3-game stretch after Sam Houston this week. But we'll come back to him. Let's do this, Rob. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll get straight out to Tyler when we come back. And we got a lot more. We got DJ versus DJ talk. We're going to go to Gainesville. We're going to go to Tallahassee. We got Billy Napier comments coming up. We got a lot of the Napier comments, man, they just blew up right in his face. We're going to get to that, and we got a lot more coming up on the Stadium Pulse. We will be right back.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
On the big screens, it's more than a card room. It's a night full of fun with friends. Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, and now the newest location here in St. Augustine, right off 95 at exit 311. A brand new clean room, a full bar and menu, my favorite sushi in town. And I love the fries too. You don't have to just play poker at Best Bet. That's why I come over here to the table games and play one-card poker. That's a pretty good card and a win. One-card poker is like war as a kid, you against the dealer. And this isn't the only fun table game to play. A friendly staff, a lot of fun. It's a good night out at Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, and the newest location in St. Augustine. You can be a serious player or a novice. It doesn't matter. If winning equals fun, you're a winner every time at Best Bet. I'll save you a seat, and I'll see you down here at Best Bet St. Augustine.
Oh, man, it is that time. I love being outside, but it is just so hot. Oh, my gosh, I cannot be outside. Well, it doesn't have to be. As a matter of fact, I've got the perfect solution for you to be able to stay outdoors and not look like this guy. GW Outdoor Solutions has the solution that will help you create areas of shade with their automated retractable awning. As the summer months inch closer, the high temperatures will be right there too. With GW Outdoor Solutions, go from scorching to cooling in no time with one simple push of a button. These innovative shade solutions not only provide protection from the sun and rain, but also add style and functionality to your home. Let GW Outdoor Solutions transform your backyard into paradise. Check out GWOutdoorLiving.com for your free estimate.
Nobody but Nimnicht. Our family has purchased 6 vehicles from Nimnicht Buick GMC. The #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville has lots of inventory to choose from with their best price guarantee. Who gives you top dollar for your trade? Nobody but Nimnicht. Save up to $10,000 off select new GMC Sierras or get rates as low as 1.9%. You know, I'm a truck guy. GMC Sierra, my trim level is an SLT. This one's an Elevation. Pretty good looking color as well. So here at Nimnicht Buick GMC, you have a lot to pick from. My father-in-law, he drives this, an Enclave, so I feel like that GMC in the family. 2025 is coming around the corner, which means it's almost time to close out those 2024s this summer. You can schedule a test drive at NimnichtBuickGMC.com, and while you're there, check your trade value and customize your payment options. Nimnicht is there for you, even on Sundays. So, who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? The answer's simple. Nobody but Nimnicht. Your friends in the car business since 1941. GMC, we are professional grade.
It's hard to put a price on comfort, especially when you use that comfort on a daily basis. But if you were going to put a price on it, how does the lowest price guaranteed sound? Furniture Source is going to have the biggest brands, whether it's Ashley, Casper, or Tempur-Pedic, and once again, it's going to be the guaranteed lowest price in Jacksonville. Right now, my friends at Furniture Source are going to give you the ultimate hookup because all month long, they're making their inventory wholesale price. Check out their markdowns up to 50% off. And remember, since it's Furniture Source, you're getting the guaranteed lowest prices in Florida or your money back. Don't have the cash on you right now? It's no worry. Shop endless options to suit your style and budget and enjoy 36 months off with no interest financing. Why use your money when you can use theirs? Whether it's beds, couches, tables, or chairs, Furniture Source is going to have exactly what you're looking for. Shop the lowest prices in Jacksonville guaranteed. Find the location nearest you at FurnitureSourceJacks.com.
It's a new logo, new branding. With Bold City Heating and Air, it's an old school approach. One of the few locally owned and operated air conditioning businesses left in Jacksonville. It's hot, Florida in the summer. You can't do much to avoid it, but you can keep cool with Bold City Heating and Air. It's every customer counts kind of service, from when these trucks have pulled up to my home over the last couple of years and when they pull into your driveway as well. From communication to pricing to the actual service, everyone at Bold City Heating and Air cares about you. You know who is coming to your house. You know they will be well trained and they will respect your home. Air conditioning convenience at BoldCityAC.com. Stay cool while it gets hot. Bold City Heating and Air can help. Don't get caught sweating all summer. BoldCityAC.com. And they have financing to help. New systems starting at $110 a month and $50 off any repairs. Everyone loves a good game night. Here you don't have to be the host. You don't have to clean up. They bring the food and...
All right, welcome back. Welcome back to the Stadium Pulse. We're going to get back to Tyler Karen hopefully in just a little bit, but we decided to bring in the big guns. Brent Martineau joins us. We're going to go down. We're going to go down to Gainesville, and the panic that is starting to settle in. I mean, it's just rotting them alive, I feel like, in Gainesville and in Tallahassee.
Oh, you college football fans can't help it. Dog fan loves the Gators. Misery. Dog fan says, we. What position do you play for the Dogs, by the way? Just out of curiosity, what position do you play, Hamby?
Couch coordinator.
Yeah, couch coordinator. Very good. Very good. My goodness. What's going on in Tallahassee and Gainesville? You Dog fans, you Cane fans, love it. Not like you hadn't been there before.
I mean, when is the last time we looked at our schedule and think, oh, man, we might win 2 ball games?
Yes, that doesn't happen a lot in college football.
How big of a game do we have this Saturday? They're playing Sanford. A lot of fans will remember a couple years back. 70-52 is what it took for the Gators to beat Samford. So, I mean, you get routed by Miami. The question, I think, before we get to DJ Lagway is just from a standing back standpoint, is a 21-point win against Samford enough to, at least for the week before you go play another SEC opponent, cool everybody's minds?
Yeah, it'll be enough. I mean, the bottom line now, it doesn't matter what they look like in terms of the wins. The getting a win is what matters. So, I mean, I think people know that people, first of all, think their team's terrible in Gainesville and not going to win a lot. So they'll take a W when they can get it. They'll enjoy a day in the swamp. Hopefully that comes out the right side of the scoreboard. I think what's concerning is I don't think we're going to get 70-52, but I think they're going to give up some points because it looks like this defense isn't very good in Gainesville. That's the bigger problem. Like, if you can't stop anybody, even when the Gators were bad at times in the early part of the 2010 decade, when you have guys like Muschamp, their defensive coordinators can keep you in the game. Like, your defensive-minded coach can keep you in the game even if you're not great. Now, the last couple of years, all of a sudden, this Florida defense is just brutal.
Yeah.
And even that game you referenced, to give up 52 to Samford. So, yeah, listen, it's going to feel a lot different on Saturday night and Sunday and Monday, but cautionary. Like, I think you just got to take a breath if you're Florida, and you've got to hope that Miami's really good. That's the other part. And I don't think Miami's getting enough credit. I don't know if they should get too much credit, but I don't think they're getting enough credit in this. Now, should the Gators ever be blown out at home? No. But it shows you they're not fully ready or close to ready. But what if Miami is pretty good? I mean, Miami could be a top 8 team in the country. And if they are that, then, I mean, the Georgia Bulldogs are going to roll over Florida too.
Yeah.
Right? And some of that late part of the schedule. So maybe they can kind of correct things a little bit is my point. Can they beat Texas A&M next week? I think so. Texas A&M's just okay. They can beat them in the swamp. So if they get it feeling all right, and the bigger thing when we'll talk about DJ Lagway, if he shows you a little something, now you can rally behind something in Gainesville.
Yeah, and that's I think the biggest thing that Florida fans are going to be. Step one, win the football game. Step two, just see flashes. Just see flashes from DJ, because obviously not right now they are clinging at straws for hope to really anything, and so DJ Lagway seems like the only place they're going to find it. And I think for a lot of fans, as much as I think that they're behind Graham Mertz, and obviously he's out with a concussion, they almost, the last thing they want was Mertz to get injured, but now that Lagway can step in, it's like almost we're just already looking forward to whatever he can bring us going forward.
Well, in a weird way, this is probably coming off that loss, one of the best things that could happen to the Gators.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a disparaging way to Graham Mertz. Obviously, we hope he's okay. But this makes the decision for Napier rather than having to make the decision. I think we're seeing a similar thing at Florida State. It's like, how many times in that game are you like, can you just go to Glenn or one of these young guys and just see what you've got? But can you? Because you're paying DJ how much money or whatever. How patient do you have to be? When do you pull the plug on everything you worked on in August and everything else? So, and I'm not saying Graham Mertz deserves to have the plug pulled, but I think the fan base and this Gator football program does deserve the opportunity to have a little hope.
Right.
And DJ Lagway is that hope right now. So much so, I disagree with you on the flashes. I think the thing coming out of this game, if I'm Billy Napier, DJ Lagway on Saturday night has 8 touchdowns. Like, he doesn't just have flashes. He puts on a show against Samford. That's what I would do if I'm Billy Napier. I mean, if he's capable.
Right.
But I want to see this kid, and I'm sorry, there's a lot of pressure on you, young man, but you're a 5-star and probably getting paid handsomely.
Right.
So comes with the territory now, whether you can handle it or not. He now becomes the guy that can infuse any kind of hope and energy into this program. That's one of the problems with Napier. He does not do that.
Yeah.
Norvell, he can go 0-2 and like that dude's running to practice the next day. That guy's like, he's rallying troops. You feel like there's an energy that can be contagious for the believers. They can buy into it. Napier doesn't have that. He's very businesslike. And because of that, and I'm not telling you he should change his ways, you need somebody else to do that. That's the problem with the Gators and the Noles. For me, They got no dogs.
Yeah.
There's nobody jumping off my TV saying, I'm going to follow that guy.
Yeah.
Well, DJ Lagway has a chance to be that guy. And if you go get 5, 6, 7, 8 touchdowns, I don't know what the number is, but it's probably 4+.
Yeah.
To go put on a show, and then those flashes of maybe brilliance, what they can see. Now you got some people to say, hey, wait a minute. Florida State's 0-2. We got a guy.
Yeah.
And maybe there's some hope.
Yeah. Jacob Hamill in the chat says 3-9 is the real possibility in Gainesville. 6-6 is probably the case in Tallahassee. It's gonna. I wish that those two teams could play tomorrow. Like right now.
I don't want to watch the game. What's it on the Cartoon Network?
I wish that the Noles and the Gators could play tomorrow because there's still so many question marks, and I wish DJ honestly could be thrown right into the fire so we could really see what he was. Both of them, honestly, because I mean, then you get into the question of this next start, and obviously FSU is off tomorrow, but they play next week. Who is it? Who has the bigger game next game, Lagway or DJU? And honestly, I'm taking Lagway because I think like all of everything is ahead of him. There's no way you could convince me that DJU's best ball is ahead of him.
No, I think that's a good point. I think Lagway definitely has more to gain, right? I mean, you know what Uiagalelei is. That's just the way it is. I mean, they know it. They probably missed. They did miss. I still don't think he is like the worst player in the history of the planet that everybody is saying. They have bigger problems in Tallahassee than even him. Mm-hmm. Now, you can't miss the throw that he missed in the end zone. You can't miss that kind of play. But this is on Norvell. This is on Florida State. They got desperate in a sense. They pulled the trigger too fast. They should have gone young. They had a ton of equity. If you go young at that position, probably cheaper, by the way, then you have equity. And here's the bottom line, folks. You're $8 million coaches. Can you be smarter than everybody else? You cannot play the quarterback position anymore if you can't move. He can't move. That's his problem.
Yeah.
He can throw the football okay. Yeah, he throws it with a lot of his upper body and everything. So does Aaron Rodgers, right? And, I mean, he's not brilliant, but he's not awful. It's just that in today's world, you can't play quarterback if you can't move. And he can't move. He is a statue back there. He really is. He's got no speed whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Mac Jones is faster than him.
I bet he is.
Or moves faster than him in the pocket. And I'd say this about Mac. I think that's Mac's problem a little bit from a ceiling standpoint here in Jacksonville in the NFL. But I just don't think you can play the position anymore in this league without it. The defenders are too fast. They're too good. And then, of course, Florida State has more problems. But I agree with you. Lagway is the guy that has more runway, more to prove, more to help almost salvage the Gators organization this year and kind of going forward and put them on a map, and then they can figure out whether they can keep them and everything else and what they're going to do. I don't know if it's 3-9. I have a feeling Florida will find a way to win more games than people think. Like right now, people are saying they're not going to beat Texas A&M. I actually think they are. I think we're going to look up in 10 days and they're going to be 2-1. And now, are you going to be a believer? I don't know. But I think they're going to beat Texas A&M. I think they're going to beat Samford. And then somewhere down the road for both of these teams, the idea if you're any good at coaching, and I think Norvell is a good coach, then your team gets better.
Right.
So, yeah, your team might not be as good as everybody thought they could be or would be, and that really wasn't the case to start in Gainesville anyway. But as long as you're getting better, I think for Norvell, that's a big thing. You're going to ask if Napier, as long as you're getting better, is that enough?
Right. Well, with Norvell, let's talk about how, you say getting better is enough, but think about the vast shift between the end of last year before the Georgia Bowl game, and that's through a little bit of a wrench in it. But for him to take that program from 0-2 start, then 9-3, then perfect season, gets left out, he was stamped. He was stamped top 5 college football coach in the country. He got stamped by almost everybody.
Well, Alabama tried to get him.
Yeah.
They thought so too.
I mean, that's all you need. That he was approved top 5 head coach in college football. Okay? Go just last Sunday after the loss to Boston College. I mean, has there been a bigger fall? And I'm not saying it's deserved,
Yeah.
But from rise to fall, and there's been coaches that rode the midline that they've collapsed, but he went in 6 months or maybe a calendar year, he went from I don't know who this guy is on the national scale. I don't know who this guy is to top 5 coach to holy cow, is this guy's job in jeopardy if he can't pull things together?
Yeah, I mean, he's not alone. The rise and fall happens all the time. In fact, it happened in Gainesville probably with Dan Mullen. How did that thing fall apart so quickly? Like, that thing unraveled fast. That guy goes to New Year's 6 bowl games, and he's winning games. And you're like, this guy's a really good in-game coach, too. He can't recruit. He hasn't brought anybody, and boom, look, it's a mess that Billy Napier has to come fix. That happened in like 8 months. It felt like. I mean, it probably transpired more than that, but the conversation happened in a pretty small vacuum. I think you look at Deion Sanders last year. Yeah. I mean, they're the talk of the world. And a month later, they can't win a football game. Right? So, and now Deion, people are still talking about him, but there's certainly questions on how good of a coach he is. So I think Norvell's the same guy. Here's what I think happened, and I'm not an apologist for FSU. First of all, when you go to the transfer portal, this is like the NFL free agency or Major League Baseball free agency for your Braves. If you go pick up players and they don't work out, you're going to pay for it. Mm-hmm. And he's paying for it because that was a bad move with what they did at the quarterback spot, where they could have waited and got Cam Ward or just should have gone young. Right. And then you could see this happening and be okay with it. They replaced a lot. Mm-hmm. I mean, let's acknowledge that. So what we learned is they're not just going to roll through like Alabama, Clemson, Georgia of the last decade and say, we're reloading.
Right.
That's what we learned. We didn't learn that all of a sudden Mike Norvell's a crappy coach. Mm-hmm. I think he's a good coach. I think what he did to pull out Florida State out of the weeds shows he's a good coach. I think what he did to develop Jordan Travis shows he's a good coach, which is why I would have gone to a young guy and developed the next guy and keep him here in Tallahassee. Their approach was wrong for the first time under Norvell. I think their approach and everything else has been on the same page when it comes to the collective and how they're going to do it and how they're going to flip it. I think this approach for this season wasn't right. And when you go through camp, in a spring, in a summer, and you think you're tougher than you are, and you find it when you play a couple of games against Georgia Tech and Boston College that you're not, that's hard to fix. And the bottom line is they played 2 opponents that exploited that they weren't that tough. Like, they're not physical enough. I don't know if you get better at that throughout the course of the season. The thing about it, Jason, is their schedule will get better. These were 2 bad matchups for a team that, quite frankly, wasn't as tough as they thought in the trenches.
And you talk about how, at least at the bare minimum, Norvell, for the fan, does himself favors with the way that he talks, the way that he rebounds, the way that he at least projects belief from the fan base.
Yeah.
That
is easy to rally around.
But at the same time, that's not a hard thing to do, which makes it that much worse that Billy Napier can't do it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I would say this. I would say Kirby Smart necessarily wasn't early on the greatest guy to do that. Like he wasn't oozing with energy and enthusiasm. He's kind of dull. And then what he does is he builds this hardcore program, So I think what Florida did was say, okay, we're getting away from the goofy kind of like, hey, we're going to win the soundbite guy with Spurrier and even Urban style. I don't know if his personality was like that, but Mullen was a little bit like that. McElwain had been like that, right? He had been that kind of guy. And they were like, we're going football. It's about football. Let's go win football games.
Right.
And so they got a guy that was detailed or organized, or we thought, or that's kind of the MO on him. But it was football, and I'm not going to win right here at the mic.
Right.
Well, when you lose, that backfires.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing it backfire. Norvell was able to kind of do both. Norvell is a super organized guy. I love that about him. I think you have to be a good coach, you got to be organized. But he also has a bit of the mic skills, or at least I think a natural energy. I don't think he's putting on a show here. I think it's just a natural energy about him that you can gravitate, and then you can see it. He wears it. Like Norvell, like he's pissed. When he's pissed, you can see it. On the sideline the other day, it looked like he wanted to cry. But so did every Florida State fan. Right? So I think that resonates with people. Billy, not so much.
Yeah. But and you say he's not doing himself any favors, and we're gonna hear from Billy Napier in just a second. But you just committed the cardinal sin of coaching, okay? Post game, and you can't lose football games and then do the very opposite thing to rally your fan base right after, and ever expect to keep your job. unless the only way that you can get away with it is if you somehow turn things around immediately and go on a winning streak.
Yeah.
But I'm sure most people have probably heard this, but we're gonna play it for those who have not. This is Billy Napier right after the opening loss to Miami.
We got to go to work on the football part, and I think we got to become a more consistent team, and we have to execute better. And if we can focus on those things and not necessarily what some guy in his basement saying in, rural Central Florida on social media, then we got a chance to get better, right? So,
Billy. Billy.
I mean, here's the deal. I get the world we live in, and I'm with you. It's a bad move. It's a bad choice of words, but we don't care about context at all. I mean, we're like this thing. We are just after a headline so much. We are just after a headline so much in our world, which, by the way, we are. Like, that's the world we live in.
Yeah.
That's what people grab onto. Billy needs to be aware of that. I applauded the other day when Herb Street on game day, after Saban said, you're bleep out of luck, and Herb Street had the wherewithal to know right away that thing's going to go crazy on social media. He's like, congratulations, you broke the internet. Billy Napier looks like he doesn't have that awareness.
Right.
But in context, we know what let's not be dumb here. We know what the context was. He was talking to his team about not worrying about all that outside noise. We get the 20-second bite that ends up saying, hey, first of all, Florida doesn't have basements, you moron. That's what everybody's saying, by the way, not me. And then also, you're calling out the fan base.
Right.
That's the way it's interpreted. He explained himself, obviously, later this week.
Brad, he was better off saying, as long as we don't listen to the outside noise from the guy in Crocs and jorts and a mullet and all of this, then, literally the cardinal sin of coaching is to say anything about your own fan base, especially if you're not from there.
Well, and especially if after a game like this.
After a game like that.
And you have no equity. That's the problem. You have no equity to say this. If Spurrier or Urban or somebody like that were to say it, it's not going to be great, but you have at least equity built up.
If Kirby says it and he's an alumni of the school, I feel like, and he's from Georgia, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But you're an outsider. And we know all SEC programs are very protective of their culture and way they do things. And some outsider coming in saying, Rob, can we pull up that picture? If you guys
this was an old guy getting caught a little bit too, older guy. He's not an old guy, but this is like people like our age. If you're a coach, my age, if you're a coach or something like that, you're like. And especially a football coach, where you take everything so serious. You hate social media. Right? So you hate the idea of it. And so that's a little bit of this coming out. It's him jabbing something else, a little defense mechanism there. Right. But again, it was ill-timed. It was just awful for the situation he's in right now, and then just added to it.
Yeah, he let his intrusive thoughts win. Yeah, Rob, if you could pull up that picture of that shirt, if you're not aware, that UCF Twitter and their fan base is, and I love them, the pettiest fan base.
Oh, well, yeah, they proved that.
In the country. This comes out literally, I think, less than 30 seconds or 30 minutes after the press conference. I don't know the sales, but I guarantee you October 5th, the Knights go to Gainesville and play, you're going to see thousands of those shirts. I guarantee it.
Yeah, you will. No doubt. And by the way, I think that we'll get to that at some point down the road, but that game's going to be a huge game for Florida.
Oh, my gosh.
Because to me, that's a shift. I think people are sleeping, this isn't for you, just because you're a UCF guy, but I think people are sleeping on UCF and the ability that they have in their current situation to catch teams like Florida in this state. Now, you can't catch tradition, but you can catch the current times.
Right.
And I'm not saying even pass them by, but join the equation. And Miami and Florida State and Florida over the last decade, 15 years, haven't done enough to separate themselves. They're not Alabama. This isn't like trying to do that there, or Georgia currently. Nobody's good enough in the state of Florida to run away from a team like UCF who's trying to catch up, in my opinion. So that game is going to mean a lot, in my opinion, to Florida down the road, but that will add a little bit of excitement to it as well.
Oh, yeah, we're going to have so much more on that as as this show continues in a couple weeks. It's crazy. It's only a month away. It's the biggest game on UCF's schedule. It's crazy because obviously it's not a non-conference. It's a non-conference game, but I'm telling you that one's been circled.
Well, it's a huge game on their schedule, but it shouldn't be because I actually think they, outside of Miami now, but going into the season, I thought they legitimately had one of the best chances of anybody in the state of Florida to go to the college football playoff.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the wide open nature of the Big 12.
Right.
And ACC now is wide open as well, and really wide open because Florida State's 0-2 in it. But Clemson and Miami, I think it still will come down to those guys.
And I think we had a comment from a Brian Prouty earlier that said USF has surpassed Florida, and
I'll
say slow your brakes because y'all are about to play Bama tomorrow.
It's I think of Bama, yeah. So they
and that's the
USF's trying though. It's been bad.
Yeah,
it's been really bad, but they're trying with facilities and everything else.
That's the home and home. If college football fans didn't know they needed.
Yeah, I know it. Listen, you look up 10 years from now, if they do it right at USF,
yeah,
I think we're in a landscape now that you can catch up in a hurry if you do it right. I think you can also falter in a hurry if you do it wrong, and we're looking at it in Gainesville. Gainesville has done it wrong in the last decade, hiring coaches late to the facility game, not organized in the NIL collective game, and because of that, they're not where everybody else is or where they think they should be or want to be. And I think if USF does things correctly with their new facilities and they can get some money behind it and they can kind of start to lift up, they can close the gap. I'm not telling you they're going to be Florida State, Miami, but UCF now in the big conference with the size of their school, with the momentum that they've actually built in the last handful of years or so, with a coach that's done it before, they are primed in a position, I think, to be able to jump into that conversation sooner than USF. But I wonder if 10, 12, 15 years down the road, are we looking at 5 schools in the state of Florida that we now talk about on a regular basis, not just Miami, Florida State, and Florida?
Yeah, I think that's a valid thing, and I think if all they got to do is look at UCF to see how they did it. I mean,
there's a little bit of a blueprint.
Yeah, follow that blueprint and go from there. But maybe don't pay too much attention to the Bama game tomorrow.
Yeah, that could be ugly.
Jalen Milroe, I think the most dangerous ball carrier in the country.
And you know what he might be? I don't know what we think of Milroe overall. I'm sure Alabama fans love him. I think we, as an outside world, are like, okay, just okay. I think he's actually pretty good. Like, I think he's, especially for the college game, chance to be really good. Ball carrier-wise, arm strength-wise, I think he's gotten a lot of experience now over this. Like, that experience last year will pay dividends this year for him in Alabama. Alabama's an interesting situation. If they can keep it rolling, with the coaching change, that would be something. Be one of the people think Alabama's just Alabama, but when you can change out Saban and if you still can keep it rolling in today's landscape where you lose players and now all this other stuff's happening, I would give a lot of credit to Alabama if they're still in the mix.
And I think it's only going to grow, especially for Bama, because what DeBoer has done is he, especially with his like offensive line, what used to be Alabama was the biggest guys, the strongest guys, and sit where you are and move people. And those are the guys that he has, and he's asking them to be 30 pounds lighter, more athletic, pull, pin, get to the second level. And, I mean, week one was week one, but you were seeing guys that were never used to doing that at a high level, and that's going to be the thing.
Oh, yeah, that could be a fun style to watch at Alabama, which has been very much more methodical, beat you up.
Right.
Obviously, the way kind of Georgia's playing right now, which it wins.
Right.
But it could be very entertaining if it's Washington style of play.
For sure. We're going to take another break real quick, and we'll come back. We'll put a bow on this thing. We will get to UCF in just a second, and we'll get to some comments in the chat. So feel free to keep lighting that up, and we will be right back on Stadium Pulse.
If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service, a meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too, to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to come. Bono's Pit Barbecue. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
For the game day hustle and every day in between. Juggling my show, Jag Social, to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, it's a daily tournament. But this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone. The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call. Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive your passion.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242. You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing. Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Maybe you need a new tankless water heater or something a bit more intricate. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Right now, get 10% off any residential job of $500 or more. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
At Southampton, local golfers have no shortage of options when it comes to picking a course to play here in Northeast Florida year-round. Yet time and time again, I find myself here at the Golf Club at Southampton. Easy to get to off 210 in St. Johns County. It's family-owned and operated and renowned for being one of the area's most player-friendly. That's just one of the reasons we hold the Action Sports Jacks Dream 18 charity golf tournament here each fall. The Mark McCumber design layout is great for all skill levels of golfers, from the guys who bomb it a mile on the range to golfers like me who are just happy to put it in the fairway, which Southampton has very accommodating fairways. And if you need new clubs, come down to the pro shop. They'll fit you up and get you a nice new set like they did for me. For more information on membership or to book a tee time and see for yourself, head over to golfsouthampton.com or call the clubhouse at 904-287-7529. The Golf Club at Southampton. It's the official home of the Action Sports Jacks Dream 18. Make it your home for golf too.
It's the place we party in football season with Jaguars All Access. Welcome to String Sports Brewery, everybody. Say hello to our guest tonight. That is Trevor Lawrence. You can bring your party or event to String Sports Brewery in Springfield any day and any time. Rehearsal dinners, corporate events, birthdays. Here at Strings, you can enjoy the inside area and the outside area. Good for any weather, good for any occasion. Watch the games, play the games, shoot some hoops. Beer? Yeah, they have that. Plenty of choices. And sure, this is a brewery, but Strings is also a restaurant, and the food is fantastic. A full menu made from scratch meals. And if you need String Sports Brewery to help with a party at your place, they cater too. Family, beer, food, sports. Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield.
All right, welcome back to Stadium Pulse. We're going to wrap up this episode with some UCF talk. Go down to Orlando, check the Pulse in the Bounce House. And for that, we're going to try and bring back in Tyler Karen. Tyler, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you, Jason. What's going on, my man?
Still cannot hear him, fellas back there. We're gonna stay with him and see if we can't fix things on the fly here. But Tyler, there's nothing on your end, so you're good. Just smile and wave real quick. But how about now?
What's up? You guys got me?
Hey, how about that?
Hey, there we go.
Let's go. How's it going, man?
It's good. You know what? It might be my connection's bad. I am broadcasting from my basement in rural Central Florida. That could be the issue, but
Bro, oh man, I almost was like, oh, is he? And then I was like, oh man, he's pulling my leg. Oh, what would you do to be able to hit that in front of Billy Napier at his next press conference?
oh, I'll request a press pass just to troll. That's what some media and some access that some people get and some reporters get and some personalities get. That's something you could pull off in today's world. But yeah, it's all good college football fun, and the fact that we're getting that content, it just shows how back we are.
It's the truth. Once again, Tyler Karen, Orlando radio host, talks a lot of Magic and a lot of Knights. 96.9, The Game. All right, Tyler, let's get into it. KJ, real rough. And Gus Malzahn says this week that this is the most he's improved this week of practice, these last couple of days since that game against New Hampshire leading in to Sam Houston. Are you buying that? And what do you need to see from KJ tomorrow to restore your hopes that he can be the guy that leads UCF to where they want to go?
I think you just need to see a confident KJ. I don't want to put numbers on it with statistics and going up. It's another inferior opponent in Sam Houston. You're not in Big 12 play yet. A 3-touchdown spread to get things going. You just need to see a confident KJ. It looked like he had the yips in week 1. It looked like he was uncomfortable in a new offense. It looks like KJ Jefferson was playing in a pickup football game, if that makes sense. And that's not what you want to see for your transfer fifth-year quarterback, who is kind of the guy who is hopefully going to bring UCF to the next level this season, throwing the ball with confidence, with accuracy, getting the receivers involved. That's one of the biggest questions after week 1. The receiving core for this team is so good, and whether it's Sam Houston, Uncle Sam that you're going up against, a guy like Kobe Hudson needs more than 2 receptions. Those are the type of things that I'm looking for, and that starts with KJ.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, and I kind of talked about it last week. And by the way, I might have been a little bit too hard on KJ last week. I just, the large majority of the time, I was talking about UCF. I was talking about him because it was just that shocking to see how bad he played. But that's because UCF is a quarterback away from winning the Big 12 championship. And I think I really don't think that's a stretch. That's not an alumni belief. If UCF has the guy at quarterback, they have the best roster at every other position than any other team in the Big 12. I mean, we're almost to the point that maybe we're trying to convince ourselves that even the run game is enough, because unbelievable run game. I mean, RJ Harvey, Penny Boone. I mean, even the freshman Miles Montgomery out of nowhere, and he's taking off. But it's almost is the run game enough to take UCF against these Big 12 opponents if KJ isn't what we thought he was coming into the season?
It's not enough. And Miles is a junior. He came over from Cincinnati. It's his first year in Orlando. The answer is no. KJ is going to have to put his own pizzazz on this offense for it to be successful. UCF can rush for 400 yards every single game, and they could be capable of doing it. We saw it last year. That rushing attack was one of the best in not only the Big 12, but in the country. And UCF finishes 6-6 in the regular season. Why? Because that quarterback element wasn't there. So once you get into Big 12, and it's something that I'll watch for against Sam Houston, defenses can just pack the box and say, you're going to have to work. For every yard you get on the ground, we're going to make you throw it. And again, that's where you have the receiving targets. That's where KJ has to be great at the little things, making the easy pass and getting the ball in the right place at the right time.
And that's why it was so frustrating last week, because being the quarterback at a school like UCF should not be that hard. And I know it's easy for a fan to say, right? But UCF has such great athletes. Talk about Kobe Hudson on the outside. Just find a way to give him the ball. Just find a way to pitch the ball off to the running back. Against a lot of these defenses, they'll run for 20, 25. It's going to be an explosive every time you get those guys in space. That's why it was so frustrating. One more thing, right, really quick before we get you out of here and we wrap this thing up. After Sam Houston, you got a little bit of a stretch here. You got TCU, you got Colorado, and then you're off to go to Gainesville to play the Gators. What do you need to see against Sam Houston that'll give you confidence into that stretch, knowing that, all right, this is your last little exhibition game, if you will, and it's only like a 24-point spread, I believe you said, so it's not that big of a cupcake, but you got one more game, and then then it really starts.
Yeah, spread this weekend, I think it opened at like 21, and it's bounced around between 21.5 to 22. So they're 3-score favorites. And I think what's good about Sam Houston this week, last week we saw Seth Morgan for New Hampshire at quarterback, pocket presence guy, didn't want to look to get out of the pocket much. For Sam Houston, it's Hunter Watson, who won a community college national championship last year with Iowa Western. This is a guy who, he was the leading rusher in Sam Houston's win over Rice last weekend. He is that dual threat quarterback that is the general prototype college football college quarterback. I scouted out TCU last week. They have that type of guy. We might see DJ Lagway in a couple weeks at the Swamp, depending on how the Gators handle that quarterback situation. So I think it's going to be a good test for the UCF defense to play a mobile quarterback. Also, they need to get some sacks this game. They pressured the quarterback well last week. Sam Houston allowed 7 sacks last week to Rice. Pressuring the quarterback and handling that play option, those RPOs against the dual threat quarterback. Some things to watch defensively for UCF.
All right, I really appreciate it. That game kicks off at 2 o'clock tomorrow. That's Tyler Karen. You can catch him on 96.9, The Game in Orlando. And that will do it for week 2 from Stadium Pulse. Stay tuned for Brendan Austin's show kicking off in just a couple minutes. We'll have a lot more on the Jags before their season opener against the Dolphins. Thanks for watching, everybody.
In Northeast Florida, we love hanging out on the back patio, maybe grilling out lunch or dinner with the family, enjoying the good weather, or maybe enjoying the big game on the TV. Or maybe your favorite team in town, the Action Sports Jacks team. This is great, except for when it's really hot or the bugs start coming out. But what if you didn't have to worry about that? Titan Outdoor Solutions will make your outdoor area a comfortable spot, any time of the day, any time of the year. This makes too much sense. Titan Outdoor Solutions can give your home an upgrade. Customized pergolas, awnings, controlled shade, even retractable screens. The solution to beating the heat and the bugs and getting more use out of your home is Titan Outdoor Solutions. And this can even help prevent storm damage at your home. Living in Florida and living in your home is already good. Now make it great. Quality products, custom work, locally owned and operated. Visit TitanShuttersAndScreens.com or call 904-484-7580.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From 1954 to 2024, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. That commitment includes a partnership with the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team as the presenting sponsor of all Armada men's and women's broadcasts this summer. Action Sports Jacks and Alive Credit Union, a partnership that just makes sense when it comes to covering Northeast Florida. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of our first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now.